Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, a couple of minutes late, but welcome. If we are on a Friday lunchtime, which we are, which means today we're going to be talking about coping with feelings and emotions. And this has been an incredibly packed week of feelings and emotions for me. And one of the things that we've been discussing recently is how to tell whether, do you know whether it's a feeling or an emotion? And it's really easy to tell because emotions are things you can see. If you like, so if I go, that is an emotion. And feelings are things that people can't see. They're the things that we keep inside for the most part. And for those of us who are traveling this journey, we're learning to express those as well. And that actually makes our mental health much better. And we like to call it our emotional intelligence. And so what I want to do today is I want to talk about some of the amazing things that happened to me this week and the price I have paid for them. And I say the price I have paid because I lost control this week, and there's no doubt about that. And, all that brings with it. So I guess I'm the case study this week. Let's put it that way. For those of you here for the first time, welcome. DearMamaSal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week. And we get together at lunchtime Friday, Pacific time. We get together again at 7 o'clock on a Friday evening, where we talk about coping with life. And then on Sunday afternoon at 3:30 Pacific, we talk about coping with stress, where we sort of gear down ready for the upcoming week. And I'd like to say at the get-go that one of the greatest things, regardless of what has happened to me this week, one of the greatest things is that knowing that I know how to get out of it, even though it's becoming a struggle for me. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that. So I've got, for those of you who might be watching in the background, more than welcome. Hi to Jody, by the way, and to Jeannie. And talking about Jeannie, I have your gift here, or your whatever it was that you sent. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't opened it. But I noticed that it came in an extra bag, and I've got a feeling that either Customs put that in. I don't know who. Did you put that on? You will know whether you put that on or not. Anyway, but it's a really good idea when you're sending stuff. Anyway, no, I didn't think so, but it looks like Canada Posted. Anyway, let me open it up. So that's a good way to start. So we'll start with the mailbox. I have another one that came in the mail that I'm waiting for the okay to open it online, or not. And, I can see why they put it on, Judy. The address, hang on, let me cover up your address. This was coming off, and that's why they put it in the extra bag. Hi, Sandy. Beautiful stamps, by the way. Yeah, it's the removable tape wasn't holding it very well. I think that's what it was. So let's hope nothing fell out. You see this? It's just falling apart. So that's probably why they put it. Isn't that kind of them to put it in an extra bag? Okay, just checking that there's nothing else in there. Wow, it's a beautiful bracelet, which it really is. You saw me react a little bit. Jeannie, one thing you would not know is I don't have female hands. So this beautiful bracelet, isn't that beautiful? It says, life is tough, but so am I. Now, my problem is I don't think I can get this on. but it doesn't mean that it won't have a very special place in my heart. Can you see the problem? How can I best show this? Okay, so you can probably see it that way. All right. So unless I have it stretched and I don't want to break it, but I think that's a great thing to keep in my bathroom and read every day. And by the way, how incredibly poignant that is for me today. That's really meaningful for me today because life has been tough this week. And so thank you, Jeannie. This is just a really, really kind gift from you, and I appreciate it. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to give that a special place in my bathroom, and especially when I get back into my own house. For those of you who don't know, I am not in my own house. I'm in a rented apartment because, like Jeannie, my house caught fire. Jeannie's house got devastated right the way down to the basement. I was lucky; it was only 1/3 of my house that was affected, but even so, even with 1/3 of it being affected, it was over 100,000. So, $100,000 worth of Canadian dollars worth of damage. So, Jeannie, I dread to think how much damage yours has created. It must be a nightmare, but it was so nice to see today that you've got a front door now. A front door, but no roof. Is that right? That is a great idea. Jody is saying it could actually keep a guest towel, you know what I mean, a hand towel in my bathroom. What a great idea. Jody, I'm going to get one and show you. That's very creative. Hold on a second. I'm going to get one. You see, that's what I love about my viewers. Oh, you got the roof as well. Okay, that's awesome. Hold on one second. So I think that's a brilliant idea, Jody. So you mean I can have it like this for my, that's really clever. I can even double it up and do it, I think. Even better. But the main thing is that it is not going to, the thought of it is not wasted. It would help if I put it the right way up. Okay, here we go. Okay, so isn't that a cute idea? Thank you, Jody. That's a lovely idea. So now I can put that, like, have my face cloth, the next face cloth ready to go. Great idea. Thank you. So, people, as I said, it's been a very, very tough week for me, and I'm going to be just discussing some of the things so that we can hopefully all learn from it. Sandy, you've had a very tough week, but the good news, if I may share it, about your mom, am I allowed to share that? Sandy? I'm just waiting for the okay on that one. So the good news is that Sandy advised me this week that her mom is coming back from Europe on Monday. But because she's been overseas, it requires that she goes into quarantine. And for some reason that Sandy will probably explain, they aren't able to get her internet going at this time. And so obviously Sandy has some concerns about that. But she will have a phone, and it may be, is it just an old school, landline? And, the interesting thing is how much we have changed, how our feelings and emotions have changed. And if I can say that, because, when I can remember when we shared a phone with 3 other houses. You know what I mean? Where you literally cranked it up. I can remember those phones. And so you look at it and you go, we are so spoiled today, so spoiled. And this is like, let us remember the basics, right? It's so great that your mom's coming home and she's going to be able to talk to you, and she will not be that far away. I think that is wonderful, even if you can't see her for 2 weeks. Now, I presume, oh no, and you can't even pick her up at the airport, I would presume. Is that correct, Sandy? Let me know. Jeannie's saying that her granddaughter and husband have tested positive. That's getting closer to home all the time. I've got some difficult stuff as well, Jeannie, that I'm going to be talking about in a minute. But what I've done, hang on a second. I just want to get I've got some unboxing type things here. And I've got 2 of them, so I'll do one now and one for this evening. And by the way, while we're talking about that sort of sad news, I hope you are all aware that Louisiana Laurie and Baba, her husband Baba, is undergoing treatment now for stage 4 cancer. And, really so sad. What I want to show you is my frustration. I ordered up some glue recently from Amazon, and this box arrived, and I want you to see the size of the box. Okay, so that's about 8, it's a pretty large box, right? And inside, I don't know if you can see this, but inside, there is this. Now, I don't know about you, what a total waste of space and effort and time. And somebody delivered that. Now, also, one of the sad things about ordering things online is I thought I was buying a tube like this, and I've ended up, once I get it out of the box, with a tube like this. Yeah, absolutely, what a waste. So very frustrating, but it is our reality today, right? Because we're ordering online. I am certain I'm not the only one that is frustrated. And also, the other thing that I have found, and let me be grateful for the fact we have deliveries, but one of the things that I have found that is frustrating me, and I don't know if anybody else is finding this as well, is that Amazon is doing more and more third-party stuff. So in the old days, you ordered from Amazon, everything came in one box and it was delivered. Now I'm finding that you order 6 things and 6 different boxes are arriving. Why? We are buying it on the Amazon website, but it's not being dispatched by Amazon, even if it's in Amazon boxes, right? I think what's happening is third-party sellers are being sent the Amazon boxes that they can send things out in. So I don't know if any of you have had this problem. Oh, Jody's saying the same thing happened with the packaging of our Gorilla Glue. It arrived in a large box, a little bottle of glue. Yes. And so I think we're going to be seeing, but again, look at the waste of paper and cardboard. And so, you know, it's really frustrating to me, but I need to be able to deal with it because it's going to happen more and more. Okay. I got really frustrated this week because after all that I did between January and September to lose weight, I have not only put all that weight back on, but then some. And how many of you can imagine that that does not feel well with me? And I have, in the last 2 days alone, eaten 2 bags of candy. 2, not 1, 2. Why? Because I opened it up to have 1 or 2 and then didn't finish until the bag was empty. Now, that probably tells you a lot about what's going on in my mind at the moment, that it's not settled and not comfortable and it's frustrated and all those things. And so the point that I wanted to make is I am pretty certain that you all understand that it happens to us all. It's not, you know, it's just like it's part of the cycle, if you like. And I am a great believer that when my life gets out of control like this, it's time for me to have a really good look at what's going on inside. Oh, Sandy's saying, I had a glue issue as well this week. Mine was delivered by post. It likely went to the wrong address and I had to reorder and wait over a week. Yes, I'm going to have to reorder as well. And Jeannie's saying, I recently sent 2 separate packages to Texas. I stuffed 1 small box chock full of clothing, no wasted space. Yeah, I'm sure. The other thing is I am frustrated with myself for what I haven't done for Christmas. And I'm going to be talking about that as well. First of all, I want to explain my great sadness of the week. There were 2 of them. Now, sadness is not something that I feel very often, or it doesn't trigger me very often, but this week it certainly did. Some of you know my friend Patty, and her husband is in hospital at the moment with a brain tumor. And that, quite honestly, threw me for quite a loop. And the first I knew was that Patty had sent me a text that didn't make a whole lot of sense because I couldn't understand what was going on. And I had to ask a secondary question to find out what was going on. But then I understood. And the next thing I knew, she called me on her way back from the hospital. And, you know, I think what really triggered me was that she would phone me on the way back from the hospital. But what she told me touched my soul and really made me so sad. And she had been told by the hospital to go home and don't come back. Go home and don't come back. And how difficult must that be? You know, and I'm thinking the same with Lolo and Baba, you know, that it's so difficult when you have to leave a loved one in the hospital and without being able to visit them and cheer them up and do all those sort of things. And especially when you're dealing with something as serious as cancer. And I don't know why it threw me for such a loop, but it did. And then I realized part of it, you know, when I sort of looked at it, part of it was my frustration at not being able to go and visit her and support her in a way that I would normally do. And I think this is what I call the ripple effect of the pandemic, right? It's not just that we can't see people in hospital, it's we can't be there the same way for the people that are the caregivers and the loved ones of those people. And I wonder if any of you are feeling that as well. So to me, it was like a double-edged sword. Bad enough to hear about Dawn, and then worse to realize I could not support Patty the way I would normally do. And I found that very difficult. And then I heard about the fact that a couple of days before the fire happened in my house, somebody passed, somebody that I didn't know well, but I did know. Somebody passed a couple of days before the fire, and nobody had told me because of the fire, and they didn't want to overload me. And I only found out about it this week, which is months later. And so months had gone by, and I had not been able to commiserate with the family. Can any of you understand that that really had an impact on me as well? It was like I couldn't get my head around the fact that nobody had told me, and therefore the family hadn't heard from me. And does that make sense to anybody? So then I said something that I don't say very often, which is I need time to process. So in other words, I don't want to react right now. I need time to work it all out in my mind, and then I can talk about it. And I thought I would save the talking about it and do it here online, because that is a really important part of how I process things. I try not to react in the moment. I try to take the time to work it through and then tell my truth, whatever that is. And I was amazed how many things came up for me on this. And one of them was, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like it when people filter things. In other words, they didn't want to overburden me. And that is somebody making a decision that to me rings of scared that you couldn't cope. And I don't like that. And I actually, when I'd finished processing, I got back to that person and I said, I just need to tell you how this feels for me. I never dreamt that you would filter information from me on something like this. And because you filtered it, I didn't hear about it. And because I didn't hear about it, I couldn't be there for the family. And that makes me a little angry. And so let me see what the feedback here is. Yeah, Jeannie's saying that hurts. People making a major decision for you, not trusting you enough. And I want you all to hear this, because you do know that the person who filtered it did it out of a place of love, right? And also, if you think about it, the person who filtered it, it was in their family. And so maybe they weren't in a place to be able to talk about it themselves. Never mind tell me about it after I'd had the fire. And so I want you to really think about this, because maybe a loved one of yours ends up with some bad news, and maybe you get told by a doctor, a doctor will never tell you whether to tell the patient or not. But, my attitude is this: you need to know what your loved ones would have you do, all right? Because you may have to make decisions for them when they are not capable of making decisions. And what happens is our stuff gets in our way. Our stuff gets in our way. And so this pre-filtering of stuff, it can be very dangerous in lots of ways. So the question I have for you is, have you had that discussion with your loved ones? That, if there's a really bad diagnosis, do you want to know about it? if for some reason the family is saying things like, oh, you don't want to tell them that, why would you tell them that? It will upset them, da, da, da. You go, because they have a right to know. And I think that's the thing. I think we have a right to know. We have a right to the truth. And so many people play this game of treating us that we cannot cope. And what I said to the person concerned was, I need to tell you something. This has done me more damage now than it would have done back in September. Because in September, I was at my strongest, even with the fire. I'm not as strong now. I've had months of lockdown and isolation. I'm not as strong now. And I need you to know that you made this decision with all the best intent in the world. But really, think about this. And Jody's saying, yes, it makes sense. They were trying to protect you, but they made a choice for you. Yeah, they made a choice for me. And how many people do that? I don't, I think I have the right to make my own choices. And the other thing I heard was, well, the family isn't handling it well, and they're rejecting a lot of people who are trying to help them. See, again, and guess what? I ignored that. It's not about me. It's not about what they do. It's about what I do. And it's so, I wrote a note to the family and said, I need you to know, as you probably already have heard, I only found out about this today or yesterday, actually. And I just want you to know how terribly sad I am about that. And also how sad I am that I wasn't there for you when you most needed it. And, I got a really nice note back thanking me. They didn't cut me off or discount what I said. They were, very kind about it. And so I look at it and I go, don't do this, people. Don't treat people like they're 5-year-olds and cannot handle that sort of stuff. Jeannie's saying, years ago, my favorite aunt died. I was out of the country. Nobody told me for months and months. I felt terribly hurt. Yes. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that reacts when people make decisions on my behalf without, I'm still compos mentis as far as I know. I'm still capable of making decisions. And I'd like to suggest in a lot of cases, probably more capable than a lot of other people. And so it really is something I want you to be aware of, but not just that it hurt, but it really pressed so many of my buttons. And I am responsible for how I coped with that. I'm not blaming anybody for what happened as a result of that, but it triggers stuff. And then I started to need sugar. It is on me. I'm the one that opened up the bags of candy. And why did I have candy in the house? It's Christmas. I'm busy getting ready to pack things into gift bags. And so now I realize I've got to take those candies and package them up in a hurry, or lock them away somewhere where I can't even get to them very easily. Put them up high somewhere or something until I'm ready to pack them, because this is insane. Does that make sense? I am responsible for opening the bags, nobody else. And Sandy's saying, yes, it's not okay for others to make those choices for you. But people do it all the time, Sandy. And that's why I wanted to discuss it. I am pretty certain that all of you have done it. And I want you to see what that feels like. Yes, Jeannie's saying you were trying to compensate with sugary food. Yes, but so we talk about why, Jeannie, because going for sugar under high stress has a reason for it. Jody probably knows what it is. It's not unusual. I haven't learnt, funny enough, it's the first time since I've been diagnosed being pre-diabetic that I have found myself doing that. Sugar helps when you're in shock. Okay, yes. And, they do, that's one of the things, right? If you're in shock, they give you a sugary drink. Mind you, they didn't give me one after the fire. I was quite surprised about that. So now then, there's more to the story, right? Because you guys are pretty aware. So if you think about it, this goes in a pattern. Hang on, I just need to draw this because I think it makes more sense. So here I am, and I'm doing, I was probably batting about 8 out of, hi Sharon. I probably was, doing quite well around about Monday, Tuesday. And then I heard the news, number one, that was about my friend with the brain tumor. And that took me down another step. And then I heard about the death. And then I heard about the filter. Can you see what is happening to me, that I have not managed to take the steps up because they came too fast? Does that make sense to anybody? That I didn't have time to properly process this one and get back here before the next one came in. And I didn't have time to get back here because then I heard about this one. Does that make sense to people? And what happens is you end up in a very difficult place. Now, let me reverse that. So here is where I am. Now, how many of you know I could have canceled the broadcast? I could have, done a pity party and whatever. But what I wanted to talk to you about is not just what happened, so you could see why it systematically brought me down, but how I am going to get back up again. Now, any ideas? Let's see how well we're doing. If you were in this space and this happened to you, what steps would you put in to help yourself get back to whatever our current normal is with the pandemic? Any ideas? Let's see how well I've trained you. All right, Sharon's saying, when something like that happens to me, I feel like a shell on the edge of the surf, rolled in the beach and then just swept back out. All right, so yes, and would it be fair? I found, Sharon, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I felt, and I had to think about that, if I had one word to describe how I feel right now, it would be a little lost. A little lost. Okay. Hang on a second. Let me just see here. Sandy's saying, I wanted to mention again, and I wrote it above, the lack of internet in my mum's case is very much for her well-being. Yes, I understand that. She doesn't do well with being isolated, so not being able to see us will be hard for her. I totally understand that. But again, Sandy, what I want to do is to remind you that she lived a long time without the internet, right? Do you know what I mean? She's used to only having a phone. She remembers those days. A lot of young people don't remember the days when all we had was a phone. And we used to phone people, not text them, We used to get on the phone. I don't think it'll be as hard on her as it is for you, Sandy. That's the point that I'm trying to make. So be careful that you don't prejudge how difficult it will be for her. And I would remind her, hey, Mom, thank goodness you're your age that you are, because you can remember the days probably before, way before having all these fancy things, and you did quite well. And remind her that she did quite well in the days when she just had a phone. All right? And make sure that you realize the value of talking to somebody in real time on a telephone. All right, so does that help, Sandy? That you will feel this more than she does, is my belief. And I assure you, it's hard for us all right? And being in quarantine, a lot of people are in self-imposed quarantines. And it's having an effect, there's no doubt about it. So, in a way, what I'm about to show you, Sandy, will be part of what you and she will need to do, all right? Because when you feel a little lost, it is very important to start putting the building blocks back in place. I would probably start playing a game with her, Sandy, and saying, okay, this is day 1 of 14. We've only got 13 more to go. Do that every day. And by the way, before I get into this, I wanted to ask you guys another question. Do you know what day it is? Do you know what day it is? Because one of the things that I heard my friend say is when she took her husband to the hospital, the first question they asked him was, do you know what day it is? And he didn't. And my friend said, but, and their attitude was, he doesn't even know what day it is. And she said, but whilst we've been in a pandemic, how many of us know what day it is? Because everybody's sort of like retired these days, right? We forget what day it is. How many of you know what day it is? I mean, you probably know it's Friday because the broadcast is going on. You can link that. But do you know what the date is? And so if you know that that is going to be a question that you would be probably asked if you ended up in hospital, where they will judge your mental capacity at this time, your mental acuity, if you like, then I would recommend that you all get up and make sure that every day you say to yourself, today is Friday the 11th. And then every time you go to the washroom, remind yourself, this is Friday the 11th. Okay, so Jeannie's saying, we have not seen our granddaughter and her husband for many months. And I've been doing virtual mass for over 8 months. Yes, exactly. And Jody's saying, I check every day when I get up. That's weird. It's not weird. It's very intelligent. And Sharon's saying the same thing. But what I'm saying is, what you need to keep repeating is, it is Friday, the 11th of December. Okay? So that you know not only that it's Friday, but it's the 11th of December. And please make a point of repeating it to the ones you love. In other words, maybe your husband hasn't bothered to check. All right? And let's help one another, because I realize that with being isolated, I am less aware. Being retired, one factor. Being isolated is another. It doesn't really matter what day it is. It does for me because of broadcasts, but you know what I mean? It's like, be aware that that's human nature. And therefore, if your mental ability is going to be judged, should you be taken to hospital, I think it's really important. Sandy's saying about her mom, yes, she remembers. However, her iPad has been her lifeline. Absolutely. That is the luxury that we have been given. and Sandy, but she knows, and what I'd like you to remind her of is that she coped so well for so much of her life before that happened. And so to me, it is something that you go, thank goodness we still have a phone. What I want you to do, Sandy, is work on the pluses, not on the negatives. Now, again, Sandy, I've got to ask the question, do you have to have the internet to have a smartphone? I know you need it. Do you have to have the internet to have a smartphone? She could still have a smartphone, but not the internet, right? That's the point that I was trying to get my head wrapped around. Because you don't have to have the internet to text. So if that is important to you, think about that. You need the internet to do the research and stuff like that, but for texting and stuff, you don't need the internet. It's part of the phone's satellite. Am I right on that, people? Let's get some feedback on that. So if you want to give her the ability to text to phone numbers, then yeah, and Sharon's saying that is correct. So that's what had me confused, Sandy, is that she doesn't need internet to have a smartphone. She won't be able to research, but she can text you as many times as she wants. Okay, she has an older phone, and she can't really manage a smartphone. We'd need data. Well, okay, but what I'm saying was what I heard had me confused, because I know that what my phone does is very different from what my computer does, all right? So to me, I guess, is it you that needs to feel comfortable or her? That's the question. Now, Jeannie is saying, and that's important, Jeannie is saying, we keep a calendar where we jot down all our appointments. Yes, a visual thing is a good idea these days. Maybe, some of you keep that information in a daytimer or whatever, but it's really important to keep a visual of what day it is. I've actually started writing on my bathroom mirror what day it is today and the date, so that every time I go there to brush my teeth or whatever, I will see it and go, okay, it's still Friday the 11th. It's like it's important. So I want to go back to, what does it take to get out of a slump? What steps do you have to take if you're feeling? When I said I was feeling a bit lost, I realized that there were so many things. Oh, what do I use to write on my mirror? Any dry erase pen, or any dry erase pen works beautifully. They work great on my microwave as well. Right, if I'm in the kitchen and I remember that I've got to buy something or do something, I quickly write it on the microwave. My tip for the day, but I go one step further. Okay. And this is the important step in my view, because sometimes, I don't know if you've found this, because I go, I got to remember X, Y, Z, and then I get distracted and I forget to go and write it down somewhere. So now I just quickly write it on the microwave. But here's the bigger trick. The bigger trick is this. About 2 or 3 times a day, if I can find it. I'll find one. Come on. Okay, well, the point is I take my phone and I take a picture of it. And then once I've taken the picture, I know I can rub it off because I've got it in my phone and then I can transfer it the next time I sit down at the computer. So, all right, so Jenny is saying, I write out a grocery list after receiving the grocery flyer saying specials and discounts. Okay, so you don't buy by need, you buy by price. You know, so you read the flyer, or do you combo those and go, I know what I need, and I check the flyer to see if it's on special? I'm trying to see where that fitted in with what I was saying. So my reality here is this is a long journey back here, because not only, and this is what I wanted to make sure you understood, not only do I need to get my mind tracking better again, but also my control, self-control, all right? Because, you know, I lost that. By getting that many hits, I suddenly lost control. And that's the point I wanted to make. The thing I lost was control. Now, I believe that one of the best ways to take these steps back up is to start by forgiving. Okay? I cannot possibly take these steps back up to where I was without forgiving myself for where I've been. Does that make sense? It's a number one step. When you are feeling lost, there is a reason. When you feel you've lost control, you have. All right? You know you have. It's not a maybe. You can see it. Your house can show it. Everything, all right? You can feel it. Does it make you a bad person? No. Does it make you a stupid person? No. It makes you somebody who got hit with too many things at once and you lost control. And how many of you can see, and this is a difficult one for some people, I think, but I find when I get hit like that so many times and I don't have time to recover, part of me goes back to being a child, where I want somebody to come and fix this. Do any of you relate to that? I don't feel strong enough, all right? Which is why this incredible bracelet, you know, where it says, life is tough, but so am I. This is where this comes into play, because nothing is going to get me out of there except me. All right, Jody's saying, I found returning to simplicity helps, all right, the basics when trying to regain control. So number one, I have already forgiven myself. I've already said, it is what it is, Sal. Now you just start working back up again. What's number two for me? And it might be different things for different people, but for me, number two is routine. Okay, so I need to get the routine back. By the way, I have not done the proper editing of the last 2 weeks of videos. Insane. You know, I've done the videos, I spent the time recording it with you, but I didn't do the edits that I meant to do. That tells me something. So I have lost my routine recently. So that needs to come back up again. The other thing is number three, I need to look at the positives. Are there any positives going on right now? You know, I mentioned that I have packed on all the weight that I lost earlier in the year, and then some. Well, you know, you don't start eating whole bags of candy. And by the way, you probably want to know, what did I eat? The first bag I had was licorice, all sorts, whole bag. Now, that's high salts, that's, ugh. But I love licorice all sorts. And I only ever buy them at Christmas. And the reason I got into the habit of buying them for Christmas is I found out many years ago, 20 years ago, that Yvonne and I like the totally different licorice all sorts. So whenever either of us bought a bag of licorice all sorts, we'd divide it, because she'd take the ones she liked and then would give me the ones she doesn't like so much. And I would do the same. So every year we would end up with, the ones that we liked. I don't know if that makes any sense. And so, of course, I bought licorice all sorts because it'll go in the goodie bag for Yvonne. Well, look at this. So are there any good things that I have achieved this week? You see, that's what I need to look at, not the bad stuff, but the good stuff. I have been, I've been sleeping pretty well. That's a good thing. I don't think I've been oversleeping, but I think I have been sleeping pretty well. I also have to say that I have done, I think, close to 4 weeks now of WeFit, every single day for nearly a month. And I have, as you know, found a lot of things that have improved because of that. The only thing is every day it reminds me how much weight I've put on. Yes, Junie's saying you've achieved the Wii exercises. Yeah. So can you see that part of this process of getting back up is to control my mind, all right? Because if you don't have mind control, you're not going to be able to take those steps up. How many of you know the voice in my head is going, well, now that you've totally destroyed your weight and your blood sugar, what's the point? And it's Christmas. Yeah, you still got cookies and chocolates and everything else going on. So I actually looked at the good side. I know this is going to make you laugh. Going, imagine if I were not pre-diabetic. Actually, at the moment, I'm probably hitting diabetic. But I kept saying to myself, imagine if you weren't doing your blood sugar every day. Imagine if you weren't checking your weight every day and so forth. Where would you be then? At least you are aware. So I'm looking at the individual good things that are going on. So, because to me, that's how I get out of here. And I wanted to just make sure that you all understand that this is something that happens to everybody. It's not just you. And when you can see that, it is how are you coping with your feelings and your emotions, because only you can change them, right? Unless you go to therapy. Right? It is up to us to take control of our minds, not for other people. So I had another thing happen there was another thing that happened. Out of the blue, suddenly, I have Roku, if any of you know what that is. That is one of these add-on streaming things that is on my television. And for no apparent reason, at the same time as everything else hit, my Roku suddenly wasn't working. Right? And I'm going, now what? Do any of you relate to that one? It's just like, now what? It's like, And then I had to stop and say, I still have television and I still have, the Wii Fit going. It's just the Roku that's not working. And it took me 2 days to get that working again. But you understand, it was another thing in the list of things that were going in the wrong thing. I have a question, and then I'm going to carry on because I need you to have time to type. Has anybody yet found a good, useful use for dryer lint. You know, I'm a great believer in trying to find, how many things can we not throw into the landfill? And the other thing is, on this question, do you put the dryer lint in the garbage or does it go in the compost? And that was my next one. So first of all, do you use your dryer lint for any useful purpose? I really would love it if somebody's got a use. I'm certain there's got to be a good use for it. I just need some creative ideas. Now, here was the next thing that went wrong. I was making cookie dough and I did something wrong when I was making the shortbread cookie dough. And it just totally crumbled. It didn't stick together at all. And oh yes, that's true, Sharon. I have heard that for campers, right? Sharon's saying empty toilet paper rolls, stuff them with dryer lint and use them as fire starters outside. Yes, that's a really good idea. So if you know anybody who's a camper, that's a really good thing to do for them. However, be careful where you store it. I'm a bit sensitive to anything to do with fire these days. The other thing was that on the positive side this week, I got to choose my flooring. First of all, let me talk about the shortbread. The dryer lint goes in your organic bin at home. Okay, that's what I wondered, where people throw it. And I keep thinking maybe it's time to make stuffed animals, because it's clean. It's come out of the dryer, right? Therefore, it's come through the wash. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be a great thing to make stuffed animals out of? Jody, perhaps we can put that on our list of research and see if we can come up with some ideas on the internet that we can use and, share with people. All right, so here it was. The shortbread just totally crumbled and, it was a disaster. So I was about to chuck it all and I thought, hi, Jamie. I thought, I'm not going to throw it away. There's too much good stuff in there to throw it away. So here's what I started to think of. How many uses could I find for crumbled shortbread? And what I found is that it's really good to bake an apple or, make stewed apple and just sprinkle some on top. I've tried that, worked really well. It's really great to put on top of yogurt. And so, this is like taking the negative and then turning it back into a positive. Now then, I got terrified this week. I don't mind telling you that. Did anybody else get frightened by anything? I got terrified this week when I read, first of all, a report about animals starting to get COVID. Now, the first thing I did was to double check the source, and it was being, it was coming out of a reputable source. So I'm going, we know that they've done the double check to make sure it's not a hoax. But it turns out that I believe a lion at a zoo has got it and pets are beginning to get it. So here's the thing I wanted to make sure that you knew, and I've got a note about it in a little bit. I think I've got it for tonight's broadcast, but be aware that when animals start getting it, then all the vaccines are going to be even more important, but we're probably going to have to also vaccinate our animals, our pets. So if you are in a household or if you know people who've got COVID, make sure that if they've got pets, that they keep the pets in quarantine as well as themselves. Does that make sense? Because the fact that the pets are living in the house with somebody who has COVID means they are likely to, it's possible that they could transmit it. And so I thought that was important to know. How many of you can understand that part of my problem was a feeling of helplessness? Now, you don't see helplessness, so we know it's a feeling. I felt helpless to help my friends this week. And that's not a good feeling for somebody who normally does a fairly good job on that. So do you understand that part of my journey out of here is I need to be aware of how much that is part of my life? And then, this has been a real week for me for frustration, I want to tell you. Then I wanted to get presents to the girls and Benji and Judy and everything else like that. So I thought, no problem. You know, it's normally I would go shopping, fill up a box and send it to them. Well, you know, I'm trying not to go shopping or go and do these things. So I thought, well, never mind. What I'll do is I'll order it up on Amazon and send it down. But then Judy had asked that all the presents be individually wrapped. So when they arrived, the children couldn't see what was in the box. Well, I got news for you. When I started to order those things up, the international shipping cost was insane for each individual one. So I thought about that, and that was making me upset. And I thought, I don't want to be upset. I want an answer to this. And then I thought, well, never mind. I'll order it through Amazon.com, and then I won't have to pay the international shipping. Not true. Because I reckoned, you know, I'm a Prime member, so the shipping is free, so that's fine. Well, it's not true. Prime membership only covers your shipping in the country in which you live. You know, it's just like, that doesn't work very well for me. So then I started to get upset about that. Hang on, guys. So I feel like I'm a bit drained today. I need some color. Anyway, so I started to get upset that it was insane to pay that much money for international shipping. And I thought, okay, that's what you can't do. What can you do? And you know what I did? I swallowed my pride and I decided to have a little chat with Judy. And I said, Judy, this is what I'm struggling with. I want to get these presents to the children and to you and Benji, but you know, the shipping costs are just insane if I do it the way that you asked me to. So is there any way I could send you the list of what I was ordering and have you order it in one box for your family so that you know it's coming and you know how to cover the bases on it? And she said it was a great idea. And I said, you know, and she said, absolutely no problem. So what I did was I went in and I got the short links to all the presents that I had wanted to buy. And I put that in one spreadsheet and then sent her that information. This is who it's for. This is the link. And this is how much it is. And then I said to her, I understand that when you go to buy it, the prices may change. So then let me have the total once you've done it. And I literally just, the moment that I got the total, I just PayPal'd her the money and it fixed the problem. But I had to let go of that feeling of it's not the same because Judy knows what her present is. But you know, do you understand that Judy already knew what her present was because I'd already discussed it with her? And so to me, that wasn't a major problem. And everybody else is going to get a surprise except for Judy, but Judy already knew because she and I had had that discussion. And so you look at it and you go, I saved an awful lot of money I probably would have cost me at least 50% again, and 100% more. I would have spent this much on the presents and more than that on the shipping. And that was insane. That's a waste of money in my view. And so I felt really good at swallowing my pride and telling the truth to Judy. And doing it far enough ahead that it didn't overwhelm her too much. And quite honestly, after I gave her the list, she wrote back to me and said that was brilliant to actually send me the links on everything, because I literally just copied and pasted into our Amazon and it worked beautifully. She said, here's the total. And it was like, it didn't take her any time at all because I had done the work. All right. So both Jody and Jeannie are saying very practical solution. Well, you know me, I always look for not what I can't do, but what can I do? But do you understand, with all the hits I'd had, I started to feel like a useless person. All right, because I couldn't even get the presents to the children in the right way. And then I went, no, but the children don't care as long as they get the presents. Now, Sharon's bringing up a very important thing that I actually got on the list here somewhere, either for now or later. But Sharon's saying delivery has been terrible. Everything for the last 2 weeks has taken to arriving late. Do you understand it's about to get worse? Why? Because of the vaccine. You understand they're now shipping the vaccine, the equipment that goes with it, the alcohol swabs, the needles, all that stuff is being shipped now. It's going to get priority over everything. So that means the planes are going to be filled with that stuff. The people who are normally delivering, actually the vaccine has to go in very special delivery, right? Because it has to be kept below a certain temperature. But if you can understand, if you thought deliveries were bad up until today, the next 2 weeks are going to be horrific. So if you haven't already got your Christmas presents, be patient. Now, talking about the vaccine, I wanted to know if, and we're talking about, feelings and emotions, are any of you scared of the vaccine? And the reason I ask that is because I heard that there is some concern about, after people have had the first shot, some of them will not want to come back for a second one. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that the after effect of the first shot are bad enough that people will not want to take a second one. Yes, Jody is saying that she's scared to get the vaccine and scared not to get it. And I quite agree. I feel the same way. I feel it's like I'm a little scared to get it, especially at this time, and then scared if I don't get it. So you think about it and you go, how many of you are concerned or frustrated that even if you get it, who isn't going to get it? What's the point? All right, unless everybody gets it, what's the point? And if animals are starting to get it, will we now have to vaccinate our animals as well? And that's the point. Jody is putting something that says, I saw something written that said, if you get sick from the vaccine, you know it's working. Yes. And I also read somewhere, and this is under be prepared, not scared, that the after effects don't last very long. All right. You could be sick for a day after it. Is that worth it to you? Jeannie's saying we want to get vaccine as soon as possible. we want to get the vaccination done as soon as possible. So I would like to say be prepared, not scared. Be prepared that after the vaccine, you could spend 24 hours not feeling too great. And if you are prepared for that, then when you go back for the booster, you probably will not feel too great for 24 hours after that, or your body will have built up enough immunity that it won't affect you. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that in terms of be prepared to not feel well. Jeannie's saying, we asked to be on a list, but our doctor is not ready yet. Yes, and I believe that, places like Walgreens and stuff will have the vaccine as well. So it's the first thing is, are you on a high priority, right? Because from what I understood, I'm talking about the states, that there are going to be so few. First of all, if I understood it correctly, Jeannie, and this is, listening to the US news, that and I'm going to do it in simple numbers, if they have got 10 vaccines going out, they have to take 5 of them and put them in storage because these vaccines need to have the backup ones available for the second shot. Makes sense. So if they've got 10 available, they will send out 5, and then 2 weeks later or whatever it is, they will send the booster shot for those 5. Does that make sense, everybody? So you may hear they got 12 million vaccines available. They haven't. They've only got half that because they have to store half of that for the second shot. Now, the next thing is, if I understand it correctly, the amount of vaccines that are available, you're pretty sure that they're also holding back some of them for other reasons. And I don't want to get too swift on what other reasons, but they're holding them back for other reasons as well. So you look at it and you go, even though the vaccines are starting to get into the system, it may be a long time before you personally get it. I would think Jody probably has a better chance of getting hers early. Yes, and Jeannie's saying that she and York are over 70 and they have asthma and Crohn's. York has had a stroke, so they're more likely to get it early than, for example, I am. Even though I may, I'm also over 70, but I'm over 70. I'm pre-diabetic, but not, well, at the moment, I think I'm diabetic, but I'm pre-diabetic, but, so I'm up there, but I'm not high priority. I'm not the first run. I think I would be in, the second one or whatever. So be prepared to be disappointed. And I think it's really good that you've already had that discussion with your doctor. Jody, did you have that discussion with your people so that when those things start coming in, how far up the list you would be? Yes, Sharon's saying, and from what I've heard, medical staff will be the first required to take it. First responders, generally, I think, not just medical staff. I believe it will be any first responder. So yes, but there won't be nearly enough to cover that in that first batch. That I can tell you. So did any of you achieve anything this week? Because, coping with feelings is, how many of you know that when you achieve something, you feel good? I was trying to just think while I'm waiting for you to let me know what you achieved. What did I achieve this week? I've got to show you because I want to tell you, I accidentally got the greatest thing. Hang on a second. It's one of those things I need to show you. Hold on one sec. Keep typing, people. You know, what I said is one of the ways to get out of the funk is to get back into a routine and keep to it. And obviously that is why I decided, regardless of how I was feeling, I would still do the broadcast. But I wanted to let you know I needed to get an ice cube tray to do an experiment. And I bought a silicone one. And this has been the most useful thing that you can imagine. I made my salted caramel chocolate in here, just put about that much in at a time. And it really looked great when it was finished. I've done little, what did I do yesterday? I made little snickerdoodle bites. Okay, so I made this snickerdoodle recipe and then I put in about 1/2 inch in each one. So by the time they were baked, they were about 1 inch high, but they're just like not a full cookie, they're a little bite. And I want to tell you that that gave me great joy. Let me see what Sharon's going. I finally perfected a specific 3D mask for my daughter. Now I'm working on making Christmas stockings. Excellent, Sharon. So one of the things that's really important for us is to stay creative. You know, whether it's baking or sewing or doing whatever, it's going to help our mental health. Jody's saying, I achieved my goal of 75% reduction in diet soda, artificial sweetener consumption, and it's starting to taste really weird to me. Well done, both of you. Jody, I think I could get very addicted to this salted caramel shot that I'm putting in my coffee these days. Hi, Nyasha, good to see you. And I'm going, I might have done myself a disfavor on this one. So just a reminder about coping, all right? Coping means that we invest our own conscious effort, our effort, people, to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try and master, minimize, or tolerate stress and conflict. So you can see that this week, because I didn't have, hang on a second. Because I didn't, because things were hitting me so quickly in those 2 days. I think it was a 48-hour period that all those things, pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, that I ended up down here somewhere. Now, the truth is that I know how to take these steps back out of here, but it's going to require a lot of effort on my part. And being creative will be part of that. Letting go of my perfectionism will be part of that. I just realized I have not sent out Christmas cards this year. And I am just going to make sure that everybody knows that I haven't done it. And they can judge me, right? Because I realize that I need to let go of the guilt. And to me, it was like, I want to tell you, when I went to the post box to pick up this thing, this beautiful bangle that Jeannie sent, I was scared. I don't mind telling you, there were a lot of people in the post office, and there was a long line, and I literally decided I wasn't going to find out if there was a box for me or anything. I just literally went to my post office box, opened it, took out what was in there, and ran. Okay, so Jody's saying, I haven't sent one card out this year. I was feeling so guilty yesterday. Jody, how about you and I agree not to send any out? Let's do it digitally and let's not worry about it. And by the way, people who count will understand, and people who don't understand, I'd like to suggest probably, are not people you want to worry about too much. And I know that people will judge me for it, right? Some people. That's okay. Let them do that. You understand what I'm saying, Jody, is that I realize that this isn't just about the pandemic. This is about, I'm dealing with pandemic and lots of other things as well. Now, obviously, Jeannie's doing a way better job because she's dealing with all the fire stuff and got her Christmas cards out. Well done, Jeannie. I'm happy for you. But I need to let go of it. Nyasha's saying, I'm struggling with my healthy eating. I'm hating it so much. I want to tell you something, Nyasha. That's what the beginning of the broadcast was like for me. How many things had hit me emotionally and then what was happening to my eating because of it. The question I would ask you, Nyasha, and it's quite simple, if you would like me to help you. Would you like some help on your healthy eating? And the reason I can say that it's quite simple is because I know what I have to do if I want to do it. And it's, all right. So the question is, do you want to live? Because you are a full-blown diabetic, as far as I know, you're not pre-diabetic as I am, you're full-blown. So if you want to live, it's not a case of whether you like the food, it's a case of, are you prepared to eat the food you're meant to eat long enough so that it tastes good to you? Because the whole reason that my body still craves sugar is because I keep eating it. I know that. So the reality is, if you are a diabetic and you're still eating badly, that's your choice. But the thing is that, do you want all the things that having diabetes bring with it? Yes, Jeannie, and I quite agree with you. Jeannie's saying, I gave out really nice Thanksgiving gifts, so I'm doing very few Christmas items. As you say, friends will understand, and others do not matter as much, right? So it's not that we can't do it. It's like, I am only doing what I can now. Hi, Kez. Kez is saying, I worry a little if they have rushed getting their vaccine out too soon and not done enough testing to make sure it works and doesn't leave terrible side effects. Books. Not sure about that. Next week. I agree with you, Kez. I totally agree with you. It's one of my concerns as well. Were these vaccines rushed too quickly? Jody's saying it's a choice that comes with a price. I've paid that price before and got serious about it. Nyasha's saying, I'm eating healthy. That's the same question my doctor asks me, but it's the constant eating of meals without the dressing. So I still have dressing, Nyasha. I still have dressing. I make my own. Jody, oil and vinegar. Can diabetics have oil and vinegar? I have to double check with Jody because I'm pre-diabetic, so it's slightly different. But I make my own oil and balsamic vinegar dressing all the time. I don't buy store-bought anymore. And, you know, you can flavor it with maybe a couple of raspberries or something. Jody says yes. So you can have dressing. It's just the heavily laden cream ones. And even if you wanted to a cream dressing, Jody, cream in itself is not bad, right? It's keto. Cream is keto. So to me, it's like, I am pretty certain that there is a keto dressing that is okay to have as a diabetic. What else are you missing, Nyasha? Cream does not affect blood sugar. I want to tell you that I've started eating a lot more cream than I used to. I'm a bit worried about what it's doing to my arteries, though. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, you know, making a simple dressing of oil and vinegar and adding Italian seasons, which I can't have because of the garlic, but Italian seasonings, or I find cumin is just awesome. All right, so Nyasha said, I felt so motivated after my doctor told me I dropped 2 pounds. I still do my exercises, but whenever I do, my foot would hurt. I recently damaged it again. Okay, so again, you remember what I said to you. Okay, this week, Sandy, this was an interesting thing I found out on the Wii this week. I wanted to get exercise, but I wanted to find out, does doing the arm rolls get, you know, does it count? Does it lift the, you know, really, if you think about it, exercise is aerobic, right? You're wanting to lift your heart rate. And I think you all know that just doing this lifts your heart rate. And what I found out was that a couple of days I did the one run, and I fast walk it. I don't run. I fast walk it. And then I thought, you know, I'd like to do a little bit extra, but I don't feel like doing that. So what I did was I put the walk around the island on, and I just literally did arm rolls for 15 minutes whilst walking around the island. Now I can do that digitally with my Wii Fit. I was thinking there are so many things on YouTube of people are recording walks that they have done. And what happens is it's about, can you concentrate on movement for 15 minutes or 10 minutes even? Because if so, you can sit in your chair and do the movement. It will raise your blood pressure and your heart rate. It will raise your heart rate. And that is good aerobic stuff. And what I found was watching something on a screen while you're doing it helps pass the time. Let me tell you something else that I found. I found that this week, because of the work that I've been doing, and I probably will talk a bit about this more tonight, but I found, for example, that, you know, the Wii thing comes with a small step. I can now run or fast walk for 10 minutes and do up and down that step for another 10 minutes. And so to me, this is about, I am looking at what I can do, and I'm doing a lot more because I'm feeling better about it. If you remember, I couldn't even balance on that board very well a month ago, but now I'm intentionally increasing things. All right, so Nyasha said, the reason I brought it up is every time I would go and get something to eat in the kitchen, my mom would say, remember, you have diabetes. It stresses me out to keep on hearing about my health issues. Well, you know, it is true. You understand, she's actually coming from a place of love. It's not how you hear it, but she is trying to help you. She's trying to make sure that you do remember that you've got diabetes. Sandy said, when I was in hospital, I was not allowed to have the cream foods. They were considered non-diabetic. Yes, And that's why I'm saying that I think it's because in a lot of the cream things have flour in them. But if it's actually pure cream, it's okay. And so that's why I'm thinking that's maybe the difference. Creamed sauces have flour in them. But I found you can make a cream sauce with cream and almond flour, you know, and that doesn't have. Interesting. Sandy's saying it's the fat content. It can affect you later. Okay, so later as in, that's the one thing that worries me with the increase in protein and fats. You know, am I now putting my cardio at risk? Interesting. And now I'm adding sugar back in as well. I mean, really, how healthy is this? One step at a time, so. So again, think about this. I want to go back to the point where you remember I said somebody was making decisions on my behalf. And I actually processed exactly what was going on, what I was really feeling, and then I had the discussion with that person. You know, that's a really important thing, to take the time to process it through so you know what you are dealing with, and then discuss it with the person that you have an issue with. It's a really interesting thing. They don't have to agree with you, but just that you have told them, you know, what was going on for you. And the other thing I need to remind you is it's okay to say, I need to stop this conversation because I need some processing time. And you'll be amazed how many people don't like that. They want you to talk about it right now. And I go, excuse me, I need time to process. And then I will be able to discuss it because I want to get the emotion out of it first. All right, so Sandy is saying about the cream sauces. Yes, the flour as well. But to be honest, I don't trust the hospital because the others in my room were type 2 and they were given all the foods. The nurses were baffled. Interesting. Nyasha saying, I think she's scared since that her results from the doctor recently are that her vital signs are high, but I keep telling her I don't have what she has, which is hypertension. Yes, that's true. You know, you've got a different thing, but you do have diabetes and you do have other issues that you need to be careful of. So you know, that's the whole thing. I would make sure, Nyasha, that you have the words ready, which is thank you for loving me that much, Mom. You know what I mean? Just every time she says it, just be a broken record. I hear you and thank you for the love. Yeah, and that's all you need to do. Counter your feeling about it with a loving thought. Jody's saying cream and full fat can reduce the chance of developing diabetes there. And Sandy's adding to that, I didn't finish my thought. Yes, it can, not always, have a delayed effect on blood glucose. So fat can have an effect on blood glucose. Is that what I'm hearing? So the fact that it's not always makes me wonder, you know, is it different sorts of fats that can? Okay, good stuff to know. I also eat a lot of cheese, and I'm going, you know, I'm starting to wonder, you know, am I putting my heart at risk with all the cheese and fats and protein? And you know, protein, you know, and so that's why I'm going, well, not if you drink enough water, I guess. I don't know. Very difficult, isn't it, these days? So Another thing that frustrated, it was really a frustrating week for me. I want you to imagine I'm here in this apartment, and I have got a dishwasher that is so noisy that if it's on, you can't hear what's on the television. I have to have the words come up, you know, the, what do you call it? Why can't I think of that word? Subtitles, you know, the English subtitles on the screen so I can know what's going on in a movie. My dryer is so noisy. Yes, the closed captions. Thank you, Sandy. My dryer is so noisy that also I can't hear the television. So that means that I really need to do the washing and drying and the dishwasher all during the day, not at night. But, you know, it's just like, I am so looking forward to going home to my quiet washer dryer and my quiet dishwasher. Oh, Jody's saying, I eat a lot of cheese too, but my cholesterol numbers are perfect. Yeah, I guess I will find that out when they do the next bank of blood work, right? That's a good point. Thank you, Jody. Now, I thought I'd give you a funny one. Wait a minute, let me just see what. Nasha's going high blood pressure and cardiovascular. She tells me, this is Nasha's mom. She has high blood pressure and cardiovascular issues. She also tells me she's finding it difficult to breathe these days. And I advise her to report it to the doctor, but she says she's not having any more tests. Well, that's her choice, right? It's her body. And I understand that she doesn't want to hear the truth anymore. Sandy's saying, I eat a lot of cheese as well, Sal, and I do eggs more than I like, but they were stable food for me. The same thing, as I'm aware that I'm eating more cheese and eggs and meat than I now have deli meat more often than I used to. And, you know, Sandy's bringing up a very, very good point as well. It's weird, all the different info out there. And I think that is one of the problems where you've got so much different information, and, you know, the other thing is this. I look at my brother, who has been a league-playing tennis player for all his life that I had known him for, and he had we had to have a stent put in. So, you know, it's like, you know, you can do all the right things and still have all the wrong problems. You know what I mean? Interesting. Fun fact. Thank you, Sandy, saying, I can't do deli meat, it spikes me. What about if you cook your own meat and slice it? Does that spike you? Interesting point. So maybe I need to go back to cooking my own meat and slicing it up and, you know, in other words, making my own deli meat with no preservatives in it or whatever. All right, I wanted to tell you a scary thing that happened this week, because that's definitely, I got scared this week, a little bit. I'm driving my car and there was this metal on metal noise. And I think, that doesn't sound good. And then the next day, or the next corner I took, again, metal on metal, and anyway, so I keep driving, and in the back of my mind, I'm going, you know, this is not good when you can start hearing metal on metal. And it's happening every time I take a corner. And, you know, I went home to my other house and I collected the mail and did everything. And I'm driving home, and the first corner, here it goes again. And, you know, about the fourth corner on the way back, the noise rang a bell. And, you know, I think my librarian in my head took a while to take that noise and process it and find out what it was. And I went, you know, that sounds like a couple of Coke tins moving. You know that noise when Coke tins touch each other? And then I realized that's exactly what it is. I've still got some Coke in the back of my car. That's what the noise is. They're in one of those big boxes, but it's nearly empty. But obviously, I didn't empty the whole box. There's still a couple of cans, and every time I take a corner, they are hitting each other. I went, duh. Yeah, anyway. So, Lordy, what a thing. But you know that feeling where you're going, I don't like that sound, that's metal on. Actually, it was aluminum on aluminum. I've started, painting a little bit, but it's not the same. I want to tell you something. I bought some paints, but I don't have, I'm missing so many things that I would normally do paint stuff with. And I'm going, it doesn't matter, just do the best you can. But you should see the mess I'm making here. It is horrific, but never mind. So here's the thing I want to just give, be prepared, not scared. If any of you have sent parcels out, you may want to let people know that you have sent it. And the reason I say that is because with all the vaccine shipping that's going on around the world, it's not just in the States, it is around the world that this is happening, that I think parcels everywhere will now be delayed more. And so you can say, just want you to know that I've sent a parcel, but I am aware that with all the shipping that's going on with the vaccine, this may delay parcels to people. And so from that perspective, everybody knows that it's on its way, but it may be late. Nyasha is saying, Nyasha's saying about her mom that she's not like I am. I prefer to find out what's wrong with me, even if it means stressing out and being worried. She prefers not to stress, even when it means going through the struggle. Yes, I think a lot of people like that. Can you imagine my friend? I was thinking about, my friend who is in hospital and maybe today having a brain operation, needed to make a decision. Did he want them to go in and try and remove this? It was I think they said a 7-centimeter mass in his brain. And, 7 centimeters, that's quite big. And, the risks involved in that, but you have to make a decision. Do I want it removed or do I want it left? Well, I don't know what decision you would make. But, it's an individual choice, right? It's not for us to make the choice. And I think it's really important that we understand that. Did any of you have any joy this week? I definitely had joy out of playing with these things. I actually ordered up a second one of these because they are so useful to make bite-sized things. And what I do is I make the dough, and each dough batch that I do, and then I will put enough to make 6 little ones in here and bake it. Why? That's to make sure that the dough tastes good. That's how I found out that my shortbread wasn't working properly. And so it was really interesting when I did the snickerdoodles and put them in and bake them. It was just like, oh yeah, they taste really good. They're well worth, so I know that dough is good. And that brought me great joy. I don't know why. And now, what I'm doing tonight, or maybe this afternoon, is I am actually going to can I link these yes, sure, if Jody reminds me. And even if she reminds me to remind me, I want to tell you that they're they're a really nice size for chocolates and little cookies. So, and it's just it's not a big cookie. It's just a bite size, and it's wonderful. But only fill them, for chocolates, I fill them about a quarter. And for bite size, I fill them about half, knowing that they will come up another half. They are the perfect size. And that was, you see, completely by accident, because I didn't have an ice cube tray here. And I needed an ice cube tray. And when I got them, I thought, I could, and I'm now so aware that silicone bakes so well. And I'm going, I think I'm going to try cooking in these and see what happens. And how many of you know I'm now going to experiment on making little tasty bites, healthy ones without the sugar. And by the way, I had to buy sugar because I don't use sugar anymore. And of course, a dirty great bag. And what do I know? When everything comes back into my house, I've already got more sugar than I can shake a stick at. I've got to find a good thing to do with it. So did any of you have to make any mind shifts this week? Were you going downhill on something and then managed to turn your mind around? Yeah, Sandy's saying the same thing. I did as well, have to buy sugar, right? It was so strange to buy sugar again. Yes, and it ended up a bigger bag than I needed as well. Interesting. Okay, good to know, Jody. So you also have this sort of thing. And she's saying, I freeze my smoothie mixes in those trays and pop out the cubes into a freezer bag. Great idea. So you blend up your smoothies and then when you want a smoothie, you just grab some. What I did do, Sandy, just so you know, I have been trying to use a little less sugar and throw in some stevia instead. Yes, I also use, I do that as well. If I open up a jar of tomato pasta type tomato sauce, I will put the rest of it into ice cube trays and keep them. Okay, so Jody is saying, yep, she puts her smoothie mixers in here and then drops those ice cubes into, more liquid, whatever it is, and then blends it up. Good idea. Yes, I was thinking, Nyasha, the same thing. It's ideal for nice portioned home meal snacks. Yeah, I was thinking miniature quiches and things. Well, Nyasha, you understand that this is not a concept that she would understand, right? She is not aware the way that you are. And so just bear with her. You can use other things. I use, do you ever get, what do you call it? Applesauce. I'm trying to think what you would have in Tobago, but those applesauce containers or the small yogurt containers are very useful for doing this sort of thing. Yeah. Now, I found it really interesting because they asked me about my flooring. Did we have that discussion last week? I don't think so. And you remember one of the things that I always say to you is make sure you ask for what you want first and then sort of work your way back from there. So when they asked me about the flooring that I wanted, where's my phone? I had it here, surely. Yes. So what I did, and I think I might have shown you guys that, was I decided that I wanted a sort of a pretty light color flooring, and I wanted it to be sort of gray or gray taupe colors, so that it had that sort of whitewashed look, you know, like a beach cottage type look. Hold on one second. Let me just see what Jody's saying. Yeah, Jody's saying pet peeve, opening up a can of tomato paste and using 1 tablespoon, then what? Yeah, I always freeze mine, Jody. I use what I need and freeze the rest. You know, things like I found curry paste, if you use curry paste, same thing. You open it up, I just freeze it if I use that. And I don't use it very often, but in case, it's really a good thing. Soups as well. I find I will freeze some of my soups that way because I might not feel like having soup, but I could use that taste in a sauce if I wanted it. Anyway, so here I am with the house, and I decided, given a choice, I would like the 8-inch planks rather than the normal ones. And so not only did I tell him what color I wanted, but I also said I would like, if possible, the 8-inch planks. Now, the guy came and showed me the planks, and that was fine. And I picked one. And he said to me, no, that's fine, and da-da-da. But after he'd gone, I thought, did that plank fall within the insurance money? You know, in other words, was it within the budget for redoing the flooring? And that to me was really important. And so what I did was I texted him and said, just to confirm what you said, am I right in understanding that the board that I picked is within the budget of my insurance? And he wrote back and confirmed it. Now, the reason I wanted that in writing is so that I wasn't suddenly charged at the end, you know, another $4,000 for the extra flooring that you picked, because you picked the 8-inch one, not the regular one. Do you understand that? I wanted that in writing, that it was within the budget, so that that wasn't a problem. Now, the next thing is that he wrote to me and said they're also going to be doing the tile. And he has sent me some tile samples, but as I haven't yet talked to the person who's going to be putting in the shower, I don't know exactly how that's going to look. You know, am I going to have a shower stall, or am I going to have a shower with tile in it? You know, that could make a difference. So, but I really like the way that my bathroom is tiled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of that and say, because I like the bigger tiles. I don't know if you guys have those, but instead of being 12 by 12, they're 12 by 24. And it just looks so much more elegant in my view. So those are other decisions, and I'm certain Jeannie is making all these decisions as well. By the way, if you have a subject about which you'd like me to speak, remember to write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com, and we will add it to the list. I want to really thank you guys for the support. And I know, Jody, I know I've been quieter than normal this week, and now you know why. I didn't want to talk too much about it because I wanted to make sure that when I spoke about it, I was doing it raw, if you like, that you would hear it from, and now it probably makes a bit more sense why I was a little quieter this week. Yasha's saying, defrost the entire thing, but I'm not accepting that way anymore. The ice cube method is my new way to do things. It's sectioned in measured amounts, and it's so easy to prepare. Yes, and that's why the other thing is I am cooking these bite-sized treats, all right? And I will package them in sort of like 3 treats at a time, right? In a little baggie, and label them. But also, a really good idea if it's frozen, because you're not inclined to grab a treat that's frozen as much as you will something that happens to be in the fridge. So that is another thing. So you can make, for example, you can make a cake, right? But instead of making a cake, take 1/3 of the cake mixture and make a lot of little mini treats, all right, which you can freeze. Or you can drop a couple of cubes and put some Jello on top, and some fruit, and you've got a fairly nice trifle. So to me, it's much more creative. I still haven't got my winter boots and things out of storage yet, and the weather is definitely getting a lot colder where I am. And so it's like, I'm not sure if my boots are going to get here in time for the cold, but if they don't find them pretty soon, I'm going to say, then I need to go out and buy new boots, and I need them covered in insurance, if they can't find them. So I wanted to say that for all that's been going on and for all that I've been eating the wrong things, I'm also aware that I've been trying very hard, even within those moments of losing control. The rest of the time, I'm eating pretty well. This doesn't make sense to anybody but me. For example, I have a routine, what I normally have for breakfast. I have a routine that after breakfast, the next thing I eat is this. And then after that, I have a salad. And then, in the afternoon, I eat this. And then in the evening, I eat a meal. So the candy stuff that's caused the problem for me is in there, but the rest of the food has been fairly okay. So I just need to smarten up and package away the things that are temptation for me. That's the trick. And does that make sense to people? I just need to look after me. Jody's saying it's understandable. So some days are quiet days, and even if we only say hello, we know we're in each other's hearts. Some days we're processing, personal time days. Yes, I really did realize that that it was an important thing for me to do this week, was to really process. I find if I don't take that time to do that, then I say things to people that I regret later. Do any of you relate to that? And so that's not a good thing. The Nyasha, another thing I thought, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but another thing that I found that really works for me is when I make an omelet now or scrambled egg, I put the eggs, a little bit of meat, maybe some green peppers or orange peppers or red peppers in, and some cheese, and I blend it all up, and then I cook that whole mixture. And that way I know I'm eating not just an omelet, which is healthy, but also an omelet with lots of good things in it. The protein, well, the eggs are protein, but then more protein with, I will throw in one slice of chicken or one slice of beef or something, and just blend it all up into a concoction. And I find that works really well. And then the other thing that I've been doing, again, if I pre-package for the day, normally I pre-prep my meals for about 2 days. Now, it sounds really strange that I'm saying to you, this is what I'm doing, and I feel I'm doing a good job, and I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I know what's causing the weight gain, and so I'm ignoring that. It's like I know that I am doing a lot of the good things. I just have to get that sugar under control again. Yeah, Nyasha, I found that works really well. I really have. And the other thing is I cook 6 eggs, boil 6 eggs at a time. And when the eggs are, after I've dropped them in ice to cool them down, and I dry them, I just write the date that I cook them. And then if I need a snack, I know that having a boiled egg is better than a lot of things. So I can just grab a boiled egg and peel it and eat it. The other thing I found, and Jody explained this to me, you know that I've got this salted caramel additive for my coffees. I find that when I have that in the morning, for some reason that taste lingers and I don't get hungry nearly as quickly. Now, I'm not sure why that is. I'm still trying to work that one out. But quite often I've literally gone until 4 or 5 o'clock and not even felt hungry because I've still got that residual taste in my mouth. I'm certain there's a reason for that. You know, it's just like, interesting. Now, I also am aware that on the good side, I am looking at, imagine what my weight would be if I hadn't been doing the exercise every day. Pretty scary, isn't it? So, you know, I'm trying to look at the good side of this rather than the bad. But I don't like it that I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life. But it is what it is, and I need to deal with it. Nobody else can fix it except me. And I decide what I put in my mouth every day. That's not on anybody else. It's not about, you know, yes, it's Christmas. I can use that as a reason, and it is a true reason. But, you know, I'm still the one choosing to open up that bag and start eating candy that I earmarked to go somewhere else. And the other thing I realized was every time I open up one of these bags, I'm denying somebody because they were going to be presents. So you look at it and you go, yeah, it's really, it really is a game, isn't it? Jody's saying, Mina, that because the opposite of the science, to be honest, the science says that artificial sweetener should make you hungry sooner than if you eat real sugar in your coffee. But of course, real sugar spikes your blood sugar. Yeah. What I found, Jody, is that normally I would sprinkle a mix of brown sugar and stevia. I think the stevia brown sugar is a mix of brown sugar and stevia on top of my latte, of the foam. But I found half a shot of that salted caramel. I don't need the sweetener on there at all. It's just like, that's way enough. And it's only, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, get even a dropper. That's what I'm thinking of, is to actually decant some into a smaller bottle and then just take the dropper I have for the toffee and try just putting some drops in, because I've got a feeling that would probably be enough. And if so, that would really change the amount of stevia that I'm putting in my body as well. So all interesting stuff. Learning moments. So this has been an incredibly frustrating week for me. And I'd like to suggest that that makes me human. Think about that. This has been life for me this week. And I could have coped with any one of those things that hit me this week. I just didn't cope well with all of them coming at the same time within a 48-hour period. And that doesn't make me weak or stupid. It just makes me human. And my job now is to get back under control and to do the right things enough that I can start shifting the numbers again. Does that make sense? So frustration is really something that we all feel. Anger is something that we are pretty likely to feel. It's not about having it, it's how long are you going to let it control you? And that is the lesson. So everybody, I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon and that I will see you later this evening, where we'll be talking more about coping with life. Jody, thank you for all that you've done to support me in the week. And I look forward to getting my life back to normal again pretty darn soon. And I thank you for helping me process it all, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, love you dearly. And bye-bye for now.